Functional versus dysfunctional conflict is something that we've discussed from grade 10. It is important to take notice that in functional conflict, there's an awareness that is created, perhaps a wider range of ideas, so more creativity, perceptions are discussed, and the misconceptions can be cleared up, and that the clarification of individual views can be discussed as well when the conflict is functional. It is also important to note that in functional conflict, the task is not compromised. Dysfunctional conflict, however, is going to lead to a decline in productivity. It's important to take note that there will be outcomes of dysfunctional, not functional, dysfunctional conflict here. A climate of mistrust, they'll blame each other in this group, there might be gossip that occurs, a high level of stress and anxiety. The team morale will probably be lower, and your staff will turn over. Remember to link in here the human resources and motivation. You will probably waste time and resources during this conflict time. Sometimes it can result in violence, and in wasting this time and resources, your task is compromised. There are a variety of different reasons that exist when you're in conflict with someone in your team or within your community or within your area. Your different personalities can obviously cause conflict, meaning type A and type B personalities will be different. Type A people prefer a lot of organization, type B people prefer a bit more of a relaxed approach. We know that everybody has different backgrounds, different cultures, and are brought up with different values. What we might see as, or one person might see as something that is ethical and correct, another might see as unethical and incorrect. And it's important to have communication around these aspects and to communicate your personal values. This leads to the next reason for conflict. Poor communication can occur. Perhaps there are background issues in a factory place that cause communication to be poor, with loud noises and people don't hear correctly. Or perhaps things need to be written down and they're not, and people misunderstand what the instruction is. If there's change in a workplace, that can cause conflict. Change in management, change in your team, or change with the resources, even change in an office can cause conflict amongst people. Limited resources and competition between different departments can cause conflict between the departments, and sometimes competition between individual team members can cause conflict within the team. Then previously unresolved issues, whether it's internal unresolved issues, so conflict internally, or unresolved issues between team members can cause conflict. There are a variety of other reasons that can cause conflict in your team as well. Prejudices, diversity can also cause conflict within your team. There are 5 common conflict resolution behaviors: accommodating, avoiding, collaborating, competing, and compromising. A team member who is not necessarily afraid to talk through conflict but doesn't really have any demands of their own will most likely accommodate another person's demand merely to iron out the conflict. An accommodating conflict resolution technique does not allow for all viewpoints or information to be brought to the table. Accommodating people inevitably hold back their frustration or downplay their feelings. Over time, this can cause an expectation from the assertive co-workers that they'll always get their way and might be frustrating for the accommodating person. Ideally, an accommodating person could be encouraged to talk through their needs during a conflict management session to work towards collaboration. Avoidance involves walking away and avoiding the conflict entirely. The person will do nothing that might be perceived as rocking the boat as such. This feels safe to the individual, but does not necessarily solve the problem. This technique might be useful if you are working in front of a customer, for example, and need to ensure that you and your team member do not fight in front of the customer. You will then avoid the conflict and come back to the conflict at a later date. However, if the avoidance of conflict continues, this can lead to negative energy within the team, and at some stage the conflict is going to have to be spoken through in a conflict management situation. If everyone in the team adopts an avoidance strategy, then the team's productivity will be lowered. Collaboration can occur when we maximize the assertiveness and cooperation capabilities of each team member. Everybody gets a chance to talk and state their needs so that their needs can be met and everyone can leave happy. Although this is an ideal situation and collaboration is not always possible, it is worth striving for. Too often, conflicts arise due to misunderstandings and poor communication. If everyone in the team is willing to talk up and state their needs and help meet the needs of others, a truly collaborative environment can be reached. Some team members may view conflict as a time to win. This is a competing conflict management situation. They have no interest in compromising, collaborating, or avoiding the conflict. They want to get their way and aren't afraid to assert their opinions. In a team environment, a competitive attitude towards conflict can easily slide into bullying. It can cause frustration amongst co-workers who don't feel like their points are taken seriously. As frustration builds, co-workers can end up taking a competitive approach to the conflict resolution, and then the problem will escalate. Compromise represents the only option that allows someone with a mindset to win, although settling on a compromise can still involve a power struggle. Compromising is settling on a solution that is deemed fair to everyone. Everyone works together, so no one completely gets their own way. Instead, each team member makes a sacrifice to ensure that everyone has a small consolation prize. Compromise sounds excellent at the outset, but a solution that is fair is not always a solution that is effective in a business. This conflict resolution strategy is still too focused on competition and misses the major point of increasing productivity and working together collaboratively. Third-party interventions can occur within a business when it is necessary, when employer and employee cannot come to an agreement just between themselves. A workplace forum is in actual fact not a third-party intervention. It is a committee of employees elected by employees within the workplace. They meet employers on a regular basis for consultation on workplace issues. An official workplace forum is only established by a trade union if members in the workplace are unionized. If not, a workplace forum can still be established, but it is called a works committee. An official workplace forum established by a trade union needs to be within a workplace that employs 100 employees or more. A small business does therefore not have an official workplace forum, which is unionized. Some issues that can be dealt with the workplace forum, as well as a works committee, are health and safety issues, new work methods that might lead to restructuring, different job gradings, education and training within a workplace, and criteria to meet for merits and bonuses to be issued. A workplace forum differs to a trade union, which is there to negotiate wages and wage-related issues and embark on industrial action if necessary. A workplace forum may not embark on industrial action. Non-union members can belong to a workplace forum. However, non-union members cannot belong to a trade union. Employer organizations and trade unions are there to ensure the well-being of the employees. They are there to represent the employees through various conflict resolution matters and various issues relating to the job. Please ensure that you correlate between page 42 and 58 and 59 of your textbook to ensure that you understand the connection between strikes and lockouts, collective bargaining, and trade unions and employer organization. You will also see some of the larger names mentioned for employer organizations and employee trade unions on page 43. Some of the larger trade unions that make appearances in the news are unions such as COSATU, the National Union of Mine Workers, the Food and Allied Workers Union, and the South African Municipal Workers Union. The larger employer organizations include COFESA, as well as NAP or NAPE, the National Association of Private Employers. The last of the third-party interventions that we discuss in conflict management has already been discussed in Chapter 4 with the Labour Relations and Industrial Relations chapter. The CCMA is there to conciliate, mediate, and arbitrate any conflict situations that exist within a business that cannot be sorted out within the business itself. Employer organizations and trade unions may get involved in this third-party negotiation. If the CCMA arbitrates and they issue a legally binding instruction to the employer and employee, and the employer or employee are unhappy with this, they may refer this to the Labour Court. This appeal in the Labour Court will then be discussed in the Labour Court and a ruling will be made. The ruling by the Labour Court will overrule any decision by the CCMA as it is a higher court. It is best practiced in the CCMA that lawyers do not get involved and only employee and employer are involved or together with their trade union representatives and employer organisation. Take 5 minutes now to answer the questions 1 to 10 above with the answers that are listed below in the Business Dictionary. The answers are in the following slide. Once this is complete, you can go to page 44 of your textbook and do the additional activities there. In the Google Classroom, you'll also find additional past paper questions for Chapter 3 on conflict management.